Okay, let's look at the third index law. The third index law says anything to the power of 0 is equal to 1. But let's remind ourselves how that came about. Using my second index law with a division, I subtract the indices. So the answer to this is y to the power of 0. I could do this another way. I could say that's y times y times y times y times y times y to the power of 6, divided by y to the power of 6. So same question, I'm just doing it two different ways. So this is the first way, this is the second way. Y goes into itself once, into itself once. Y goes into itself once, into itself once. So I'm cancelling the top and bottom. So if there's a y on the top, I can cancel it with the y on the bottom. We can see that I can cancel them all out. So on the top, I am left with 1, and on the bottom, I am left with 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. Same question, done two different ways, two different answers. So in other words, these answers are equal to each other. Y to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So the rule is anything with the power of the 0 is equal to 1. So t to the power of 0 is equal to 1. xy to the power of 0 is equal to 1. 17 to the power of 0 is equal to 1. 5x to the 0 is not equal to 1. 5x to the 0 means 5 times by x to the 0. The x to the 0 component here is the 1. So we can change this to write that this is 5 times 1. So what I've done is recognise that x to the 0 is 1. So then the last final step, obviously 5 times 1 is 5. Let's look at the next example. What I'm highlighting here in pink, all of that, sorry, the pink hasn't worked, all of that is raised to the power of 0, so all of that is equal to 1. So the pink bit is equal to 1, I then have to add 2, which gives me 3. This next bit, 5 is raised to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So 5 to the power of 0 gives me 1. Then I add, then I add 3 to the power of 0, and 3 to the power of 0 is 1. So I've got 1 plus 1. Oh, that's meant to be picked. 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. Sorry, so 5 to the power of 0 gives me 1. 3 to the power of 0 gives me 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Let's look at worked example 7. I'm going to multiply out the top. For the top, I've got 4 9s, which is 36, and I've got G7 plus 4, because when it's multiplied, I add the indices. On the bottom, I've got 6 times 2, which is 12, and I've got G3 plus 8, because I add the indices. This gives me 36 G to the 11 over 12 G to the 11. Looking at my coefficients, 12 goes into itself once and 36 3 times. So I've got 3. Now this is a division. With a division, I subtract the indices. So I've got G11 subtract 11. 11 subtract 11 is 0. So I've got 3G to the 0. This gives me 3 times by G to the 0, which is 3 times by 1, which is 3. So this worked example 17 combines our three index laws. We use index law 1 to get 36G11. We use index law 1 to give us 12G11. Then we use index law 2 to work out that that's 3G11 subtract 11, which is 3G to the 0. And then our knowledge of index law 3, that anything to the power of 0 is 1, we use here to give us the final answer of 3. All right, common trap would just be to see something like this and just go, oh, anything to the power of 0 is 1. So watch out for that. The answer to this is in fact 6 times y to the 0, which is 6 times 1, which is 6. That's the most common error with this type of problem. But remember, anything to the power of 0 is 1.